Hey everyone, it's Luke here from LT Gaming and welcome back to the channel, and I return with a massive Wargames compilation list, bringing together all of our work in the Forgotten series into one easy to use guide for the end of the year, and hopefully with all the sales coming up this makes a lot of sense for you. Now, I've tried to edit this together as best I can. There are some topical things in each video as they were done throughout the year, things that might not make sense anymore, so you'll just have to jump over those. But overall, it is pretty comprehensive and we wanted to do this, so you have a really awesome guide and it's a great resource for new people coming into the channel. We do notice that a lot of people who come into our channel are not subscribed, so make sure you do that because there's so much coming up that you don't want to miss. Our goal on this channel is to help you find new games and expand your wish list, maybe even hurt your wallet a little bit, but hey, it's good to spend money on things we enjoy. Let's jump into a massive 2024 compilation video of the Forgotten Wargames series. And first up is a couple of honourable mentions. Now these are very hardcore hex and counter games, but I really think if you're a wargamer you're going to get some deep value from these. The first one I want to briefly mention is Bastogne Breakout. It's a hex, counter and card simulation of the battles around Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge in 1944. It's extremely cheap and brought to us by Bruin Bear Games, and honestly, if you want to dive into something a little bit different, this could be for you, so go and check it out. The second honourable mention is a historical hexagonal turn-based strategy wargame called RBM Studios Gettysburg. You can pick this up for under €5, and that's at full price, and I have put over 20 hours into this on my Steam Deck. It's an absolutely brilliant yet simple wargame. I absolutely love anything to do with the American Civil War, and the ability to command my units in a historically accurate representation of the Battle of Gettysburg was a no-brainer for me. Look, it's extremely simple, it's designed by Mark Herman, and it is a really great game. Do check this one out. I'd love to go and get some more sales on this so they'll do some extra battles. It would be epic if we could do that. Go and pick this one up to support them. Right, we're going to kick this list off with something a little bit more graphical, and it is the spiritual successor to the Microprose classic Red Storm Rising. The game is Cold Waters. Cold Waters is inspired by the 1988 classic Red Storm Rising. You command a nuclear submarine in a desperate attempt to prevent mutually assured destruction when the Cold War gets hot and World War III begins. Although the game came out in 2017, it's a really great representation of real-time naval combat, with over 40 classes of ships and submarines meticulously researched. There's also a dynamic campaign where your performance matters, and it is playable on the Steam Deck, which is always important to me. Now this particular list has gone in more of a hardcore wargame direction, so if you're looking for some better graphics, this one is definitely a strong contender on the list. Coming up next, we have Warplan, which stands out as a really well-crafted World War II simulation engine, offering a fine balance between realism and playability. Drawing upon the rich legacy of 50 years of World War II board wargaming, it encapsulates the essence of the era with unparalleled accuracy. Through its flexible engine and comprehensive database, players can immerse themselves in a recreated World War II experience, detailed in every aspect. Whether commanding vast armies or making crucial strategic decisions, Warplan provides an authentic and engaging journey through one of history's most defining conflicts. And what really stood out for me with Warplan compared to a lot of the wargames of yesteryear is the way that it plays and the UI. It's smooth, it runs really well, and it's very user-friendly. If you're thinking about getting into the hex and counter style of wargame, then this would be a really good place to start. There is also a sequel called Warplan Pacific if that theatre is more for you. Kraken, who is the developer of this game, is also working on Kingdom, Dungeon and Hero, an upcoming fantasy-style wargame that you should definitely check out. From one user-friendly wargame to another in Hex of Steel. This game is a refreshing World War II wargame covering all fronts and features a number of original mechanics. You can fight solo against the AI in Europe, Africa or the Pacific, or if you choose to, go online and play cross-platform PBEM or real-time multiplayer. Co-op is also an option in this. Once again, this is another modern wargame with none of the issues of the past. It plays really well and the UI is very smooth to use, and I found it to be a really enjoyable experience overall. There are so many different scenarios, you can get completely lost in this, and if you were looking to pick up your first wargame, a hex-based traditional hardcore wargame, then this is definitely at the top of the list. The game has also been received extremely well by its peers, with a very positive rating on Steam at 97%. You can't really argue with that. Well, you know, given the current state of Steam reviews, maybe you can, but you know what I'm saying. The people who play this review it very honestly, I would say. And we move on to another hardcore hex-based wargame. I mean, I can't believe there's so many good ones on this list. Attack at Dawn, North Africa. And of course, there are various levels of hardcore, and this game is definitely on the more accessible side. I really enjoyed that this game took a real-time approach, which was very novel when it came out. In essence, the game is a World War II strategy game that mixes the ease of real-time action with the depth of operational gameplay, all on a beautifully crafted North African map. I made a few videos on this back in the day, and even talking about it makes me want to go back and play it. It was so refreshing in the wargame space. I do hope that Panzer Division Games made a success out of this and that they plan more for the future, because I would definitely buy more of their titles. If you are interested in this title, I think the best thing to do is go and check out my Let's Play that I did a couple of years ago. Now, the quality might not be as good as what we do today, but I still think those videos stand up. I'll leave the link in the description, and I do highly recommend this wargame. Coming up next, we have Graviteam Tactics Mius Front. This game is a tactical battalion-level combat simulation, and the action takes place over 4 large-scale operations between the Red Army and the Germans. This particular title takes the leap from 2D maps into the 3D realm, and although the graphics are not amazing, they do a pretty good job at representing the scale involved in this type of warfare. The game is rated very positive on Steam and is also playable on the Steam Deck. It's just one of those titles you can really sink your teeth into, and there's an overwhelming amount of content available. If you're looking for more, they've also done a huge amount of DLC. Now that might not be for you, but if you are looking for an expanded title, there's plenty available. And finally, we come to Regiments, a wargame that we reviewed when it came out, and it was one of the big first successful videos that we had on the channel. Regiments immerses players in the intense realism of real-time tactics within the turbulent backdrop of Germany in 1989. As the Cold War erupts into open conflict, players must guide their regiment through the chaos of war and the uncertainty of battle. Navigate through the relentless inferno of combat, making strategic decisions amidst the fog of war. From breaking through enemy lines to coordinating artillery strikes, executing maneuvers, and orchestrating counterattacks, every move is crucial. With perseverance as your ally, press forward relentlessly, never wavering in the face of adversity in this awesome strategy game. I really do think that this is an amazing wargame to play in 2024. It has the graphics, the gameplay, and the challenge. So if you're looking for something a bit more visually appealing, this is a title that you should consider. Now they also added British DLC, and I know another one is on the way. So this is a wargame that you can play in 2024 and beyond, and look forward to new content. If you want to know more, check out the Should You Buy that I'll link in the description, but honestly, I can't recommend this game highly enough. It's a great time. And I think the reason for that is the game lets you plan things out a little bit more in your own time. I always found with Warno that you just rush in a bunch of units, they get killed, you don't really know why, and then you're back to square one just pumping out new units. In this, you can think a little bit more strategically. Maybe because I'm an older gamer, it just really appealed to me. I guess you could say it's a little more slow-paced, and I think that's a good thing. Now, I haven't played Warno since it came out, so I might have to go back and check it out to make a fairer comparison now that it's been updated. But in summary, Regiments is an excellent title, and you definitely should pick it up if you're an avid wargamer. Nobunaga's ambition sphere of influence, which could also be considered a grand strategy title. In this game, you will step into the shoes of a daimyo and lead your clan to greatness during Japan's Sengoku period. This strategy game blends diplomacy, warfare, and politics, challenging players to unify Japan by conquering territories and forging alliances in a richly detailed historical setting. And honestly, if you've never played one of these titles before, they are truly unique, with their UI being completely different to anything we see in the West, and I find that fascinating. The pros here include immersive historical strategy and diplomacy, with a huge variety of gameplay options, with deep systems for the players to get their teeth into. On the other hand, this is an all-encompassing title, and the gameplay may feel a little slow-paced and may not suit all players who just want to jump into the war element. It can also be overwhelming if you're not used to these games and their very unique UI, so newcomers may take some time to acclimatise here. If you're looking to wage war across Japan, this is one of the best titles to do it in. Now, there is a more modern title called Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening. However, this still remains one of the best titles in the series, and honestly the most well-rounded overall. This might sound a bit weird, but the unique selling point here is the uniqueness of the game. Every aspect is alien to the Western player, and it's truly something that you should experience. It's rated very positive on Steam at 83%, brought to us by Koei Tecmo, but isn't supported for the Steam Deck. One advantage of the newer title Awakening is that it is fully verified if that interests you. Next up, we pay a visit to our friends at the Wargame Design Studio with Korea 85. This game places you in the midst of a hypothetical Cold War scenario where tensions between North and South Korea escalate into a full-blown conflict. With detailed hex-based strategy, you must lead your forces through rugged terrain and complex military engagements, making every decision count in this tactical war simulator. This game is definitely more on the hardcore wargame end, with deep tactical and operational depth. If you're looking for a wargame to simulate realistic Cold War era military strategy, this is definitely one for you to pick up. Now, some people may say this has outdated graphics and a poor user interface, and to some level that is true. It also requires significant time and attention to detail. If you're a wargamer, I don't really see this being a problem, as the tactical depth here is absolutely brilliant, and what a great scenario to play, a Korean War conflict in 1985, truly intriguing. It's one of the more hardcore and unusual games on the list, but I really recommend this studio. Make sure to check out all of the other titles that they do, and definitely, they deserve your support. I'll make sure to link their website in the description below. Moving onwards, we have Shogun's Empire Hex Commander, where players manage a clan during feudal Japan, engaging in turn-based tactical battles and managing their empire's economy and diplomacy. Combining hex-based combat with strategy, you'll need to outmaneuver your enemies on the battlefield while maintaining control over your lands. This game has unique turn-based combat with tactical depth, and it blends strategic empire management with warfare. The game does have some simplistic graphics. There is also a mobile version, which sometimes I avoid. However, this does seem like a great title on Steam. There are smaller scale campaigns with limited replayability, but overall it's a really nice title and it's priced very well. If you're looking for some Japanese flavoured wargaming fun, there's not a lot of options out there, bar the obvious ones, and this is a really great find. It's rated mostly positive at 76%, which also helps to back this up as a recommendation. Talking of truly unique finds, Ancient Warfare The Han Dynasty is something I stumbled across this week. In this title, you take command of vast armies in a tactical wargame set during one of the most defining periods of Chinese history. Manage your troops, plan strategic battles, and secure your empire's future as you contend with rival factions and hostile forces. I guess the best way to describe this game is like a Chinese challenger to the Total War series, and honestly it does some things really well. It has a very unique historical setting, and the battles are extremely detailed with many units. Although they don't quite live up to the graphical fidelity of the Total War series, the scale of them is extremely impressive. On the downside, the visuals, like I said, don't quite live up to the Total War series, and there is a high learning curve here for newcomers of the genre, as once again, like Nobunaga's Ambition, it does things slightly differently to Western titles. Also, you may have some issues that this is a Chinese developer, but the game is on Steam, and overall the English support was good except for cutscenes where it was all in Chinese, but honestly there were subtitles, so it didn't bother me. Look, our job at LT Gaming is to put games onto your plate. Whether you seek to devour them is up to you. I personally found the game to be very interesting and the tactical battles really were fun. There's some really unique elements here and the strategic layer is also very well thought out. Look, anytime I find a game like this which I've never heard of before, I'm always excited and I had to try this one out. Perhaps you will feel the same way. It's rated 86% very positive on Steam and is also playable on the Steam Deck. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button, leave us a comment about what you're thinking, and subscribe to the channel. You can also support LT Gaming by hitting that join button below the video and joining our Discord. Both me and Tom really appreciate all the interaction. Coming up next, we have a title from our friends at Avalon Digital called SGS Taipings. This game puts you in control during the Taiping Rebellion, one of China's bloodiest civil wars. And honestly, in the West, we don't know enough about this conflict, and the game really opened the door for me to learn about this period of Chinese history. As an epic war game, players must manage resources, lead armies, and navigate political instability as they try to emerge victorious in this historically rich strategic experience. I've covered the game on the channel before, and I love the unique artwork in the SGS games, the smooth user interface, and the way that for a war game it just runs really well. There's a super rich historical context with this title, and it offers a unique focus on the Taiping Rebellion. On the downside, I feel like the SGS engine needs some upgrades. It's aging a little at this stage, and this game may be complex for casual players. It takes me a while sometimes to jump back into it. It is definitely on the more complex side of the SGS titles also. If you fancy something a bit easier, maybe check out Montezuma. It's a really simple one to understand and learn the mechanics of the SGS games. But if you want to dive into a really rich historical strategy war game with some amazing music, very beautiful artwork, and overall really solid gameplay, then this is definitely a title to consider, and also make sure to check out the rest of the SGS library. As we're talking about the Far East, SGS Korea is also one of my favourites. There's also some lunatic who follows me around the comments saying that I'm paid by Avalon Digital to feature SGS games. I really have never received anything from them. They do obviously send me their titles. I'm just a fan, and I think that comes across in the way I portray their games. Taipings is rated 80% very positive on Steam, and although it's unsupported on Steam Deck, I have played it and it works. And topping off this list is the absolutely brilliant Sengoku Jidai, Shadow of the Shogun. Set during Japan's Sengoku period, Sengoku Jidai brings turn-based tactical combat to life. Players command armies of samurai, ashigaru, and cavalry as they fight to unify Japan. The game emphasizes historical accuracy and tactical depth, rewarding players who can outthink their opponents on the battlefield. Now, I previously recommended Pike and Shot, and I reached out to Slytherin to ask me if they'd send me this older title, and I thought, I'll give it a go. And honestly, I think it's now one of my favourite in the series. I absolutely love Field of Glory 2 Medieval, but this game has a certain special flavour to it. I also want to shout out Snuggle Bunny, who is a fellow YouTuber who recommended this game and the series to me. Really enjoyed his videos. I'll make sure to link his channel in the description if you want any tutorials or further detail on these games. He also has a mod called East vs West, which I'd highly recommend you check out within game. I'm a huge fan of the aesthetic in this game, but they do give you options to use standard green tiles if you want to in the options. The pros here include that wonderful authentic historical setting, with the challenging tactical combat which is a standout of the entire series. There are some dated graphics and the animations aren't quite up to the latest titles in the series, but overall this is a wonderful title and I really highly recommend it. It's certainly one that I'm considering streaming on the channel, and I'd also like to go back and revisit each one of these games with a unique review. It's something I'm planning for the future. So look, if you like massive tactical battles where you have to think and strategize, this is truly a gem that you must pick up and play, especially if you like the Japanese aesthetic of the period. It's rated 74% mostly positive on Steam, which I think is a bit criminally underrated. Most people seem to have an issue with the fact that units can break, run away, and they continue to chase, which is one of the game's mechanics. It's simply a spillover, I think, from its board game roots, and honestly, it's never bothered me. I've had some wonderful, massive battles in this one already, and I'm quite deep into a Sengoku Jidai campaign, and I'm really enjoying it, so it's a high recommendation from me. In Panzer Corp 2, you will experience the ultimate Second World War strategy game. Building on a time-tested gameplay formula established by the first title, this game brings strategic warfare to a whole new level of refinement and technical excellence. Command vast armies, devise intricate battle plans, and lead your troops to victory across Europe. With its detailed and historically accurate units, immersive campaign, and deep tactical gameplay, Panzer Corp 2 allows you to relive the greatest battles of World War II. Whether you're a veteran strategist or a newcomer to the genre, this title offers a challenging and rewarding experience that will keep you coming back for more. And every night I see Tom log on to take his turn in his play-by-email game to prove that fact. Now, on that note, while me and Tom were discussing the game, we decided that it does sometimes feel like more of a board game than a war game. Very similar, let's say, to the Unity of Command series, and sometimes that makes me feel less immersed in this title. There seems to be a very subtle difference there somehow, and I'm not quite sure how to put my finger on it. For example, the SGS titles, I feel very much like they're war games. I play a lot of other turn-based war games also, and I don't get that feeling. So be prepared, this is a wonderful title, but it does have that board game feel to it. Actually, board game might be the wrong word here. I think I'm looking for puzzle. That actually describes it better to me. I'd be really interested to get your thoughts, wargamers, on this below. Let me know what you think. Regardless of this, it's a very well received title, rated very positive on Steam at 84%. Once again, thanks to Slithering for the invite to the tournament. If you thought we were going to go out in the first round, you got that wrong. Props to Tom, awesome performance. And look, definitely a title I think you should check out, especially if you want to play by email. A really strong experience overall. Right, LT gamers, if you're enjoying this list or you're new here, make sure to like, comment your recommendations and what you think of the games on the list, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support LT Gaming, do hit the join button below, or you can always come and have some fun in our Discord. We appreciate all the interaction that we get. And magicking its way onto this list is the Battle for Wesnoth, a fantasy wargame entry. Discover the magic of the Battle for Wesnoth, an open-source, turn-based strategy game set in a high fantasy world. And yes, you should definitely check out my top 6 fantasy wargames list. It was a lot of fun to make and opened my eyes to a whole new world of wargaming. However, in this title, you can explore the four corners of Erdia through 17 engaging solo campaigns and countless multiplayer maps. You will command your army, strategize your moves, and immerse yourself in an epic adventure as you battle through forests, mountains, and dungeons. With its rich lore, diverse units, and community-driven development, the Battle for Wesnoth offers endless hours of gameplay and fantasy storytelling. So whether you're a lone warrior like me, or a multiplayer tactician like Tom has proven to be, Wesnoth's blend of depth and accessibility ensures a captivating experience for all strategy gamers. It's a really wonderful experience and title, and one that me and Tom always go back to and we've featured on the channel many times. I mean, the game is free and it's rated very positive at 94%. Why are you waiting? Go out and try this title today. Next up, we have Britannia from Avalon Digital, who are the people behind the SGS series. In this title, you will relive over 1,000 years of Great Britain's history in an epic game of conquest and domination. From Roman legions to the Norman conquest led by William the Conqueror, explore the fate of numerous nations and fight to become king. Strategize your moves, manage your resources, and lead your people through centuries of conflict and change. Britannia uses the same rule set as the historical board game. You take control of a nation and issue strategic recommendations to move forward and gain the upper hand over your enemies. You then earn victory points by conquering and keeping territories, defeating enemy units, and being elected the King of England. There's a number of alternate history scenarios that are fun to play out, and it's also playable offline with up to 4 players across 3 scenarios. As a faithful adaptation of the board game, it's very fun to play, although the presentation is a little lacking. But with an overall 79% mostly positive rating on Steam, it's a good title to take a look at, especially if you like board games. Sailing its way onto this list is Destroyer the U-Boat Hunter. It brings you an authentic and historically accurate destroyer simulation, along with gripping anti-submarine warfare set in the turmoils of the Atlantic Ocean during World War II. The game definitely has a learning curve and is quite technical to play, but it is fun trying to hunt down submarines and stop them from destroying your fleet. I played this mainly when it came out, and I have been keeping an eye on its development, but it has dropped recently to 77% ratings on Steam as mostly positive. I do think they need to make some improvements here to really push it over the line. And talking of hardcore wargaming enthusiasts, the next title really does take it to the next level. It's War in the Pacific, Admirals Edition. This enhanced version of the base game takes the acclaimed War in the Pacific to new heights, with improved gameplay, heightened realism, and unrivaled historical accuracy. Dive into a world of strategic depth with dozens of new features, stunning art, and engine enhancements that will immerse you like never before. This really is a strategy game that's on another level of complexity. I've taken a bit of a surface dive into this one, but it's certainly one I really want the time to explore in the future. At the moment, it's just not a possibility for me to dive deep into it. It's certainly a game that I have a lot of ambition to play more in the future. If you're looking to pick this one up, you'll have to do it through the Matrix or Slytherin store, as it's not available on Steam. And finally, topping off this list, we have Tiny Combat Arena. Now, I'm blending the world of wargaming and flight sims a little bit, but they do cross over. Especially as this is a more minimalist title with a conquest mode in it. Tiny Combat Arena is an approachable combat flight simulator sporting a stylized look and various game modes. You can dogfight your way in the arena and in quick action, or craft your own scenarios and take part in a vast war with objectives and friendly armies to support. Immerse yourself in dynamic aerial combat with intuitive controls and strategic depth, whether you're engaging in intense dogfights or coordinating tactical strikes against enemy positions. Now, I featured this game when it arrived in early access, and it has steadily improved, and it always was a fun experience. I really enjoyed the throwback graphics, and the gameplay was cool. Now, there is only one plane, but it's a very iconic plane in the AV-8B Harrier. Sometimes titles can get lost in early access, so it's great for me to remind you about this one. And the price is at a level where it's still worth jumping in and enjoying the ride. Also, in the future, I'd love to do a combat flight simulator list, and I've been looking at Combat Air Patrol 2 since it was picked up by Microprose, and of course classics like DCS I love to play, and I'm going to jump back in because I've ordered a new flight joystick. But if you enjoy retro graphics, an approachable flight model, and a lot of fun, then Tiny Combat Arena is well worth checking out and is rated very positive on Steam at an overall 88% rating, and importantly, it plays really well on the Steam Deck. Atlantic Fleet puts you in command of the Allies or the German Navy in the longest military campaign of World War II, the Battle of the Atlantic. In this title, you get to take command of surface ships, submarines, as well as carrier and land-based aircraft in a deadly struggle. Now, this game came out in 2016, and it is an older title, but still stands up well today. It's very small in its install size, so if you're looking for something that works on the Steam Deck, it's a great option for you. And the combat in this title is still engaging and fun, especially if you're a fan of the turn-based tactical element. On the graphics side of things, of course, it has aged, but it stands up pretty well compared to a lot of more simplistic wargames. It always surprises me just how popular the naval titles are on our wargames list, so definitely check this one out if you're looking for that naval fix. The game also has a massive amount of content with 3 main game modes. There are over 30 historical standalone combat missions, campaigns of 50 missions per faction, and a full dynamic campaign that runs from 1939 to 1945. There are also 62 historical ship classes representing over 630 ships and 450 submarines. I mean, you're not going to get bored easily. It's rated very positive on Steam with an 85% overall rating and is playable on the Steam Deck. Next up is an older title published by Slytherin, Alea Jacta Est, or The Die is Cast. Of course, this is a famous phrase that Julius Caesar is supposed to have said when crossing the Rubicon River in northern Italy. And if my Latin pronunciation was even slightly off, which it more than likely was, I'm sure the pronunciation police on YouTube will be commenting below. I look forward to it. Me and Tom were laughing about this the other day. As kids, we used to say these things completely wrong. And we probably will continue to do so. Anyway, back to the game. With an incredible level of rich historical detail and historical accuracy, it's one of the few strategy games where the player must face the real dilemmas and challenges of the Romans during this time. Not only must you build and train armies, maneuver them and engage the enemy, but you must also maintain an economic and diplomatic balance with your neighbours. Now, one thing to be aware of with this title is that it uses an older AGO'd engine and appears to be locked to 25 frames a second. Like other AGO titles from this time, the scrolling experience can be a little strange. However, I found if you pan around the whole map, it tends to load in and will run smoother. And if you're willing to look past this is a wonderfully deep strategy game that models the Roman Empire in a really great era. The game is rated mostly positive on Steam with an overall 72% rating, and also, although not listed, I had this running on Steam Deck with no issues. Destiny of the World. I had never heard of this game before, and on the last video, someone put it in the comments, so I checked it out, and the developer was very kind to send me a key. Now, I'm not very far into the game, but what I've seen so far is certainly promising. You take on the role of a major country during World War II. You will control your country's production, trade, research, espionage, and command your troops in battle. The game starts all the way back on the eve of the German invasion of Poland in 1939 and covers the war until 1945 and its conclusion. It was really interesting to see a grand strategy, almost paradox-style game that I've never heard of, and although the presentation is simplistic, there is a lot going on here for you to delve into. There are 4 main scenarios in the game: a full campaign, Pearl Harbor, D-Day, and a new Operation Unthinkable scenario. You're able to play as Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, the USA, USSR, France, or China, so you're not going to get bored quickly. There's hot seat, play by email, and also a mode where you can play simultaneous turns. I really think the game is well worth a look and a bit of a hidden gem, rated positive on Steam with an overall 82% rating. Once again, thanks to the developer for responding so quickly and getting a key out to me so I could check out his awesome game. I was unable to check this one out on the Steam Deck because my Steam Deck has been sent for repair. Let's all say get well soon Steam Deck, because I really miss it. Okay, that was slightly weird, let's move on to the next title. And blasting onto your screens right now is Gunner Heat PC. Once again, when this dropped into early access, I was all over it, and I did do a video on the channel. I'll link that in the description below. The game sits in the simulation genre also, and is about modern tank combat with special attention to authenticity and fun. Gunner Heat PC attempts to blend game and simulation in just the right amounts, providing awesome fire control and ballistic simulations behind deceptively simple controls. And I really have to praise them on that aspect. The game is simple to pick up and play, the controls are fairly easy to learn for a simulation, but there is a lot of depth here. And graphically, of course, this is one of the better looking titles on the list. I was looking around for something visually appealing, and this really did tick the box. But this one really does have the gameplay to back it up. And if you're looking for a tank simulation, then you absolutely have to check it out. And even if you're not looking for a tank simulation, I think you will still have a massive amount of fun learning this game and enjoying its physics and impressive gameplay alongside its stellar graphics. The damage model is a particular highlight. Every time you make a shot, you are able to go back in the replay mode and see the damage that it did or where you went wrong and you missed completely. Since the game has come into early access, there has been a lot of regular updates, and I have to praise them for that. It's also doing incredibly well with Steam reviews rated very positive with an overall 91% rating, and it's playable on Steam Deck. Now we move from a game with very impressive graphics to a one with a more simplistic approach. And that game is Close Combat 3: The Russian Front. I decided to jump into the close combat games again this week, and I've been having an absolute blast. I forgot just how good the gameplay is in these titles. And I pretty much own all of them, from the Slitherine Matrix remakes to the old originals on GOG, and Close Combat 3: The Russian Front, the original game, is absolutely my favourite thus far. I have had so far what can only be described as an epic campaign trying to hold off the German invasion. In the first operation of my campaign, I was actually defeated by the Germans, but I did manage to take my toll on them and build a force that I was able to take through with more experience into the second operation. But then snow hit, and we fought back and took out the German armour in the next set of operations, and the campaign swung in my favour. And the best thing about this is that you build your army as you go, and it continues to come along with you. There are units that did absolutely heroic defences that I still have in my army. And there's something about this simplistic top-down 2D design that just speaks to me. I absolutely find it immersive. In Close Combat 3, you command a fire brigade of soldiers on the Russian front in this real-time strategy game set in World War II, featuring unequal detail, realism, and scope. You're able to play as either the Soviets or the Germans as you orchestrate your squad's attack, defense, and survival over 4 grueling years. There are over 300 specialized squads, 100 weapons, 60 soldier types, and 60 distinct vehicles and anti-tank guns to play around with. And this is one of the first war games to feature in our list series that isn't available on Steam. You're going to need to go to GOG to pick this one up. I had absolutely no issues running this fully widescreen. I'm not quite sure how I did it, but it worked perfectly, and overall you can get it for €5.49. Just go and pick it up today. War on the Sea, which transports players to the Pacific theatre of World War II, putting them at the helm of naval forces during the heated struggle for the Solomon Islands in 1942. In this game, players can command the Allies or Imperial Japan, balancing troop transport, supply routes, and naval dominance. Featuring real-time naval combat, a dynamic campaign, and tactical aircraft control, the game offers a deep dive into historical naval warfare with plenty of tension and strategic decision-making. The game really stands out for its immersive historical simulation, with over 50 classes of playable ships and missions inspired by real naval battles, which bring authenticity to the overall experience. The dynamic campaign layer provides endless replayability as players plan troop movements, fleet positioning, and resource management. Now, the main downside with this title is I think it's not just been forgotten by the players, I think the developers forgotten about it. There hasn't been that many updates since it was released, and overall, it feels like it's never going to reach its full potential. Despite this, there's still a good and enjoyable, compelling game here for enthusiasts of naval strategy, with that blending of real-time combat and historical authenticity. Just don't ever expect it to be truly finished, and look, that's a really great shame. It's rated 77% mostly positive overall and is also playable on the Steam Deck, but maybe I need to add a new section, as honestly I'm considering getting a Legion Go. If you do have one of those, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Moving onwards, we have Fleet Commander Pacific, which offers a grand strategic perspective on the Pacific theatre of World War II, simulating the naval conflict from 1941 to 1945. With a streamlined yet rich turn-based system, players can take command of either the Allied or Japanese navies, engaging in battles, air raids, and strategic invasions across the Pacific. The game combines historical detail with accessible mechanics appealing to both casual wargamers and historical enthusiasts. The main pros of this title are its comprehensive scope, strategic depth, and that historical accuracy, with faithful ship sketches, 3D models, and historical photographs all helping to immerse you in the experience. However, the title does have some simplified mechanics that some players might find a little straightforward, and there is a limited visual appeal with this one. For fans of naval warfare, however, Fleet Commander Pacific delivers a solid mix of history and strategy in a turn-based format. Its balance of accessibility and depth make it a strong choice for players looking to relive the monumental maritime battles of World War II. It's rated 77% mostly positive on Steam. Coming up next, we have 688i Hunter Killer, which is a high-fidelity submarine simulation developed by Sonolysts. Now, I say high fidelity, it came out in 1997, so don't hold that against me, but Sonolysts are a defense contractor specializing in real-world naval training systems. Offering unparalleled realism, players take command of a Los Angeles class, oh no, it's that word again, nuclear, submarine, nuclear, I don't know, I tried my best, but anyway, you know what I mean, to complete a variety of challenging missions. From mastering sonar systems to commanding a full weapon suite, this game demands precision and tactical thinking, making it a staple for fans of naval warfare simulations. This game is a real gem, and it is a little old because it's from 1997, but it has that authentic gameplay developed by a real-world defense expert, ensuring unmatched realism in submarine operations. There's extensive systems control, which includes over 12 detailed operating stations for a fully immersive experience. There's also real-world data integration, which for the time was pretty advanced. It features accurate ocean depth and terrain, which uses satellite data. Now, I picked this one back up the other day, and it has a really steep learning curve, so that's definitely a con, but I mean, some people are also going to love that. It's just at the moment I got back into DCS, I'm trying to learn aircraft again, I'm playing Command Modern Operations, Sea Power, some pretty complicated titles, so I'm going to come full circle on this one, and maybe I'll feature it on the channel in the future. It is a truly unique experience, and is rated 78% mostly positive on Steam. Moving ever onwards, we have Mare Nostrum, which takes players back to the age of galley warfare, immersing them in the turbulent Mediterranean of antiquity. That's like one of the smartest things I've ever said, or it sounded pretty cool, so I'm happy with that. This strategy title combines historical tactics with WeGo mechanics, requiring players to anticipate their opponent's moves in a simultaneous turn-based system. In this title, you will command iconic ships using weapons of the age. The game challenges players to lead naval squadrons using historical tactics such as ramming, boarding, and grappling. If you're looking for a really unique title based on the Roman period and a naval title, then this really faithfully recreates galley warfare with period authentic tactics and equipment. The WeGo system forces players to think ahead, adding layers of complexity to naval battles. Overall, it's just an excellent hidden gem brought to us by our friends at Slitherine, and I really appreciate them sharing this title with me so I could feature it. Mare Nostrum is a niche but engaging title that appeals to players who appreciate naval history and in-depth strategy. I think I actually said Mare Nostrum there, and it's supposed to be Mare Nostrum, so look, before people get absolutely wild in the comments, I've corrected myself. It's rated 85% positive on Steam, and if you're looking for a very unique naval title, this is the one. Next on the list, we have War over Vietnam, brought to us by the Wargame Design Studio. Now, of course, this game focuses on the aerial conflicts over Vietnam, but you can use aircraft carriers extensively, and I've really enjoyed this title so much this month that I wanted to share it with you, so I found an excuse to put it on this list. With 28 scenarios spanning a range of sizes and situations, including solo tutorials, hypothetical engagements, and head-to-head matchups, it provides a detailed simulation of one of history's most complex air wars. Players can experience a variety of modes from AI battles to LAN and internet-based multiplayer. The game also features extensive customization options through scenario and campaign editors, allowing players to tailor their experience. If you want to use aircraft carriers, you can definitely use them here. This game really surprised me. After I did the last Forgotten Wargames list based on Vietnam, I reached out to the Wargames Design Studio and asked them if I could try this title, and they sent it to me, and I've had an absolute blast. It's quite simple compared to games like Command Modern Operations, but that's the joy of it, and I could jump in to really cool scenarios over Vietnam and use all sorts of different aircraft carriers, and take on the Viet Cong. Really fun. If you're looking to pick up a copy, you won't find it on Steam. You'll have to go to the Wargame Design Studio website, but I'll leave a link to that in the description below, and you can explore all their wonderful wargaming titles. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button, leave us a comment about what you're thinking, and subscribe to the channel. You can also support LT Gaming by hitting that join button below the video and joining our Discord. Both me and Tom really appreciate all the interaction. And to top this list off, we have a game I've been having a huge amount of fun with this week. It's Fleet Command, which is a real-time naval strategy game that immerses players in the complexities of modern naval warfare. I mean, it's like Sea Power without the flashy graphics. It's also kind of finished, just saying. That was bad of me, but hey, you know, Sea Power's gonna get there, I'm sure. With entire fleets under your control, you'll command everything from frigates to submarines, deploying advanced tactics to dominate international waters. The game features intuitive point-and-click gameplay, a fully 3D environment, though look, don't get excited, it's quite dated, and scenarios based on real-world conflicts, making this an accessible yet strategic title for fans of maritime combat. And look, just going a little off script here, I absolutely love this game. I've had a blast with it this week. I've been playing it on Steam Deck, I've played it on my computer. I never quite got the resolution right, but hey, it's still a wonderful experience all these years later. It's like a really simple command modern operations, and a finished sea power. It's just awesome. My main criticism while playing this though is the unit rosters do feel a little small. It does have most of the main aircraft and ships of the time, however compared to a game like Command Modern Operations, it feels a little bare bones. Overall though, Fleet Command offers an engaging mix of accessibility and realism, perfect for players new to naval strategy or seeking a lighter simulation experience. It's also rated 87% very positive on Steam, so most people tend to agree. And as I touched on earlier, it works perfectly on my Steam Deck. Ultimate General Gettysburg, a tactical gen that lets you relive the iconic Battle of Gettysburg with incredible attention to detail. In this game, you take command of either Union or Confederate forces, making real-time strategic decisions that could change the course of history. The game's dynamic AI adapts to your tactics, ensuring that no two battles play out the same way. And with a focus on authentic Civil War tactics, unit positioning, and morale, Ultimate General Gettysburg offers a deeply immersive experience for history buffs and strategy enthusiasts alike. If you're looking for a game that combines historical accuracy with intense tactical gameplay, then this is certainly worth revisiting this year. And of course, this is the prequel to Ultimate General Civil War, but it's much more focused on the Battle of Gettysburg, and honestly, I always saw it as a spiritual successor to Sid Meier's Gettysburg, one of my favourite games of all time. Now, it's not quite as refined as Ultimate General Civil War, but there's still a certain charm to this game, and I really enjoy the fact you have to draw arrows across the map and kind of lose control of your troops just like a real conflict. It really immersed me. Now, that aspect can also be a downside because you don't have as much control as you do in the sequel. If you're looking for a really focused war game that does one battle extremely well, then you can't go far wrong with this title, and it's rated very positive on Steam at 82%, but is unrated for the Steam Deck. And spoiler alert, I may be working on a really epic Civil War games list, but hey, let's look forward to that in the future. Next on our list is Frontline World War II, a turn-based strategy game that transports you to the most critical battles of the Second World War. The game allows you to command Allied or Axis forces across a variety of historically inspired missions, each requiring careful planning and tactical precision. What sets Frontline apart is its straightforward, accessible gameplay that still offers deep strategic choices, perfect for both newcomers to the genre and seasoned veterans. With a focus on unit management, terrain advantage, and strategic deployment, Frontline World War II delivers a satisfying blend of historical authenticity and tactical depth. If you're looking for a man in finance, trust fund, whoa, what the hell? Been watching way too much Instagram, hang on. If you're looking for a war game that captures the essence of World War II combat while offering quick, engaging battles, Frontline World War II is a forgotten classic worth picking up in 2024. And honestly, this isn't the most complex game, but that's kind of the beauty to it. Sometimes you don't want that level of complexity, just an accessible experience that gets you into the action, and this game allows you to do that. It's also a very fun experience on the Steam Deck to use the touch controls because it really is suited to that control scheme. It's rated 87% positive on Steam and is fully verified for the Steam Deck. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button, leave us a comment about what you're thinking, and subscribe to the channel. You can also support LT Gaming by hitting that join button below the video and joining our Discord. Both me and Tom really appreciate all the interaction. And we move onwards to Voor De Kroon, a medieval wargame that takes place in the violent Friezo-Hollandic Wars of the 13th century. This forgotten gem, which is still in early access, so that's a bit worrying, offers both a strategic campaign and historically inspired battles where you fight for control over the contested regions of medieval Europe. Now, despite its really promising comparisons to Mount and Blade and some really big videos out there on YouTube, it currently had 0 players online when I checked it this morning. The game uniquely blends strategic planning with visceral third-person combat, allowing you to command your troops from a distance but also step onto the battlefield and lead your army in real time. With its immersive historical setting and violent, really crazy combat, I mean, we did a video on this and it's pretty brutal, Voor De Kroon provides a compelling experience for fans of medieval warfare. So if you're interested in that blend between medieval strategy and action, this title deserves a spot on your wishlist, and honestly, keep an eye on it during early access. It is a shame that games like this fall off the radar so quickly, but that is one of the problems with early access. Games can get forgotten. However, hopefully we can raise some awareness and get some more interest back in the game. It's rated 89% very positive on Steam and is playable on the Steam Deck. Coming up next, we have Warplan Pacific, a strategic wargame that plunges you into the vast and complex naval and land battles of the Pacific Theater during World War II. Unlike many other wargames, Warplan Pacific focuses on the grand scale of warfare, allowing you to command fleets and armies, manage resources, and strategize large-scale operations across the entire Pacific Ocean. With its deep strategic elements and historical accuracy, Warplan Pacific provides a comprehensive and immersive experience for anyone interested in the grand scope of World War II's Pacific battles. If you're looking to command entire fleets or armies across one of history's largest theaters of war, this is a title you shouldn't overlook in 2024. Now, Kraken, who is the developer of this game, is a friend of the channel, and he went on to do Kingdom, Dungeon and Hero, an excellent fantasy wargame you should definitely check out. His games share the same engine, and they're really easy to pick up and learn, and they run really smoothly, which is always a bonus for a wargame. So if you're looking for a simplified logistics system, because some of them drive me mad in the complex wargames, then this is certainly a title for you to pick up and play. Moving onwards, we have a Total War saga, Thrones of Britannia, a title that often gets overlooked within the Total War series, but offers a rich and focused experience set in a really crazy period of 9th century Britain. The game lets you command one of 10 factions, including Anglo-Saxons, my personal favourite, Gaelic clans and Viking settlers, as you vie for control of the British Isles. The game, of course, being a total war game, masterfully combines real-time battles with deep turn-based strategy where every decision, from managing your kingdom's economy to engaging in epic battles, can shift the balance of power. Thrones of Britannia stands out for its attention to historic detail and its emphasis on the unique cultures and challenges of this era. If you're a fan of the Total War series or you just love grand strategy, then this is well worth another look this year. It was one of those titles that was in my library and I just never played, and honestly I'm obsessed with Anglo-Saxon combat at the moment. Field of Glory 2 Medieval, I'm looking at you, what a game. I just wanted more of it, and this game actually gave it to me in a more arcade style, but overall is a very underrated Total War game. I also recently tried to get back into Attila, but the performance was absolutely awful on my modern system. However, Britannia performed like a dream. Now, on recent reviews, this seems to be having a resurgence and is up to 82%, although it's mixed overall, but it's not supported on the Steam Deck. Rounding off our list, or this particular episode of Forgotten Wargames, is Pike and Shot Campaigns, a wargame that transports you to the 16th and 17th centuries, a period dominated by the complex and evolving tactics of pike and shot warfare. This game offers a detailed simulation of some of the most significant and underplayed conflicts of the era, including the 30 Years' War, English Civil War, and the Italian Wars. Pike and Shot Campaigns combines turn-based tactical battles with a strategic layer where you manage armies, plan campaigns, and navigate the intricate politics of the period. However, the focus here is very much on the tactical battles. These deep tactical experiences allow for historically accurate formations and maneuvers, making every battle a test of your strategic prowess. Now, this title was brought to my attention by a member of our Discord called Snuggle Bunny, and he actually has a really great YouTube where he plays this game and all the others in the series really well, and he provides tutorials, so you should definitely check him out, and thank you for all your help this week. Pike and Shot Campaigns is just one of the games in this series by Byzantium Games and published by Slytherin, and all of them are absolutely excellent. In fact, I've played so much Field of Glory 2 Medieval this week that I'd like to review it in 2024. However, focused on Pike and Shot Campaigns, this game delivers a period of history which is very underplayed in the genre, and honestly, I've had a really great time just playing the English Civil War scenarios. In the background, you can then download a whole series of different tactical battles to play, including ones from the Zulu Wars and American Civil War, which is absolutely amazing. It's a really versatile game and engine, and overall there's so much content you could play this for hundreds of hours. It's a little bit underappreciated on Steam, rated 74% mostly positive, but if you're a wargamer who's into this period, honestly, you're going to absolutely love this. Naval Hurricane, a turn-based tactical game about war at sea between the British Royal Navy and Imperial German Navy during World War I. One of the really strong appeals about this game is the World War I subject matter. I got very into Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts and I really love those type of battleships, and of course many war games focus on the Second World War, so it was very refreshing to see a naval title primarily focused on this era. You will get to command powerful dreadnoughts, fast destroyers and stealthy submarines, conduct artillery battles, torpedo attacks, and fight for the survivability of damaged ships. Now this game has been in early access since the 16th of November 2022, and originally I covered it in a first impression style video. I was impressed with the title at the time, and it would seem that the developer has continued updating this, with the last update coming on March 18th, 2024. Progress has been slow, but this is a one-man studio, and I think we need to take the cost into account. It only costs at full price €8.19. So if you're willing to join a long-term adventure into the early access war game, I think this could be for you. However, if you're one of those people who hates early access, then you might want to stay away. As a gamer who's focused on the long term, I don't mind waiting around for these sort of one-person projects. I mean, this isn't Microsoft or Electronic Arts, this is a small one-man team who's basically doing this as a hobby, so I really think that you need to have some patience if you want to get on board. As they say, variety is the spice of life, and I like to offer you a lot of different options with these lists. And if you're down for some turn-based World War I naval battles, then definitely check out Naval Hurricane. Coming up next, we have the Operational Art of War 4. Now on this channel, we like to challenge you with some hardcore hex-based war games, and the Operational Art of War certainly reaches that bar. With more flexibility than before and a new array of exciting features, it will make you relive the most iconic battles from the dawn of the 20th century to modern day. And if that's not enough for you, there are a number of what-if scenarios that never actually occurred. This game is absolutely massive, with over 200 scenarios like the Battle of Marne, the Dien Bien Phu, the Battle of Arnhem, the Falkland Invasion, and lots more. And in this version of the Operational Art of War, there are new naval warfare features and a brand new supply system. If we are going to pick any holes in this title, the presentation is very outdated, but look, if you're a wargamer, you're probably not going to care about that. However, if you're a wargamer who likes his graphics, I've got you covered later on in the list. I mean, just don't ask me in the comments if this game is coming to PlayStation 5, like so many did on the upcoming wargames list. I'll be honest, given the presentation, it's more likely to come to your calculator than PlayStation 5. If you can get past the presentation problems, this is a wonderfully deep game, and it's brought to you by Slitherine and rated mostly positive on Steam with a 78% rating. From one Slitherine title to the next with Battle of the Bulge. Now this game is a total polar opposite to the Operational Art of War. It's a fast-paced World War II game where precise movement and detailed planning make the difference between a vain attempt and a brave operation. You will command infantry, mechanized and armoured units in hard fights through the various phases of the offensive, taking into account the nature of the terrain and its effects on the assailants and defenders. This game is simple and fast, but also an incredible amount of fun. It's one of those war games that I picked up one weekend and lost a few days to, and I played it heavily on my Steam Deck. If you're looking for a challenge, there are different AI historical commanders that you can take on, and each one has a unique playstyle. Overall, I have to say it's a very entertaining title, and if you're looking for a sequel, they actually did one called Drive on Moscow, but Luke, maybe save that for a future list. It's a great title for when you're on the go, as it works perfectly on Steam Deck. It's pretty cheap at €9.75 at full price, and it's rated mostly positive on Steam with a 72% rating. You wanted that more graphical title on the list, well here it is, Total Conflict Resistance. With realistic mass battles, many types of armoured vehicles, weapons, uniforms, unique mechanics and immersive gameplay, you're able to lead any state within the game and bring it to greatness. This game reminds me of Mount and Blade, but with modern weapons. The game remains in early access, but they have been doing regular updates and that is encouraging. But with this particular title, you're really getting a wargame on the other end of the spectrum. It's a first-person shooter in the middle of a huge conflict or battle. There are tanks, armour, explosions, everything's going off, it's full of action. Not like the hex-based wargames on the list, which take a little bit more time to get into, but ultimately I find them more immersive overall. However, if you're not in the mood for that sort of title, then this game is the perfect antidote. And on this sort of list, I think it's good to present you options at each end of the spectrum. If you're interested in the look of this title, it's rated very positive on Steam, with an overall 80% rating, and is playable on the Steam Deck. Coming up next, we have SGS Korean War. This series of games is very close to my heart, as when I made the channel I didn't know about them, and as I went on my journey of discovery through all the different games that we've covered, I came across this series. I was always looking for an accessible board game style war game that had a great UI and ran smoothly. And with the SGS titles, I finally found them and have reviewed many of them on the channel and still play them to this day. In fact, there are 3 new titles coming up this year and I'm going to do a dedicated video for those in the next few weeks. The Korean War was of course the first intense conflict of the Cold War, and it's very often forgotten. This game recreates it in great detail. If you're interested in history or learning about a conflict that you didn't know about, then the SGS games are always great. The unit cards are particularly beautiful and I love the artwork. The music is always awesome in these games and really brings you into the era and conflict. It's rated very positive on Steam with an overall 84% rating and is playable also on the Steam Deck. And I will say, I think the Korean War version of the SGS games is one of my favourite overall. And finally, we come to the end of the list with Steel Armor Blaze of War. This is a game I played extensively a few years ago and someone recommended it in the comments of the last video. I think it was a great shout out and it reminded me of what a stellar game this can be. Steel Armor Blaze of War is a realistic tank simulator with tactical elements. The game models the Soviet T-62 and the US M60A1 tank in detail. Each tank has an interactive cockpit with crew. The player controls a tank and commands a tank platoon and attached forces in 4 large-scale dynamic campaigns. The user interface in this title does fight against you, but if you're willing to put in the time, it's extremely rewarding. Once I learned to control my tank, the game then opened up as I commanded all of the attached units around me. The immersion level is off the scale, and I don't really know many other experiences that replicate what this game can do. This title moves beyond the boundaries of wargaming and goes into the area of full-blown simulation. Like I said, it's a bit of an older title with a dodgy user interface, but if you can see past that, this is well worth your money. If you do put the time into this and learn it and get the fun that can be brought out of this title, then there is also extra content in Steel Armor Basra 86. It's brought to us by Graviteam, it's rated very positive on Steam, and overall, it's just a great forgotten title. Rise of the White Sun. Get ready to dive into an epic strategy sandbox set in the tumultuous era of warlord China. This game is packed with tons of playable factions, each offering a unique and thrilling experience. Join the ranks of communist insurgents fighting to ignite a revolution and reshape the nation. Or align yourself with the fierce boxer-like rebels, determined to expel foreign influence and restore China's sovereignty. Whether you're conquering territories, forging alliances, or plotting cunning strategies, this game offers endless possibilities in a richly detailed historical setting. So you get to choose your faction and prepare for an unforgettable journey through the chaos and intrigue of warlord China. In fact, this is set in the 1920s, and you're able to build your empire, engage in diplomacy, and lead military expeditions. What sets this game apart is its unique focus on leading a loose clique of unreliable opium addict warlords, this is in their own words, commanding massive, unruly and unpaid armies. Honestly, this is truly a unique game and borders on being a grand strategy title rather than a war game, but overall it's a huge amount of fun and you should definitely check it out. It's doing very well on Steam reviews with an overall very positive rating at 87%. Coming up next, we have a more graphical title in Sudden Strike 4. The tagline here is that Sudden Strike is back and better than ever, although this title is a little older now. The beloved real-time strategy series returns with Sudden Strike 4, featuring bigger battlefields, more units, enhanced graphics, new scenarios, and legendary commanders. This latest installment takes tactical gameplay to new heights, delivering the most realistic and immersive experience in the series' history. Prepare for intense battles and strategic depth like never before. And although this came out in 2017, it's slowly risen up the ranks of the Steam ratings and is now rated very positive in recent reviews. There's nothing like a little bit of World War II action in our gaming, and this provides you with 3 extensive campaigns. You're able to command Allied, German or Soviet troops and lead over 100 different units into battle. This includes iconic units like the German bomber Heinkel HE-111, the Russian T-34 tank, the British Hawker Typhoon fighter plane, and the notorious German Tiger. With another 20 single-player scenarios and the ability to play competitive multiplayer if you can find people to play with, there's plenty to do in this title even today. There's also some unique mechanics in this title, like weak spots on tanks, the ability to ambush and occupy buildings with infantry, and also you can outmaneuver the enemy with clever positioning or unleash devastating airstrikes. Next up, we have SGS Heia Safari. This game focuses on the only campaign where forces of Imperial Germany fought victoriously to the end of World War I. The game plays out from 1914 to 1918 in East Africa, and you can play either as the Germans or Allied troops. It's an exotic campaign and truly a very beautiful strategy game overall. There's 5 campaigns here, with the main campaign lasting 53 turns, making it a nice focused experience. If you're looking to learn about a new period of history and engage in an area which you don't often see in gaming, then this is definitely going to be a title for you. It comes with the awesome SGS overall UI and experience, it plays very smoothly, and the music is excellent. So if you're an avid turn-based wargamer or even someone who wants to break into this style of gaming, definitely a top choice here. The game was also well received on Steam at 94% positive, and I have got it working on the Steam Deck with no issues. The unique historical setting and the ability of the African units to bolster your forces makes this a truly unique title, and I'm really tempted to fire this one up over the weekend and start a new campaign. Coming onto the list next is Carrier Battles 4 Guadalcanal Pacific War Naval Warfare. Now that is definitely a long game title. However, it wouldn't be a proper war list unless we included some hardcore hex encounter style games. They are really my favourite overall. And Carrier Battles is a classic hex encounter digital war game covering the naval air battles of the Pacific War from 1942 to 1943. You have to find your opponent and strike at him before he sinks your precious carriers, while preventing them from invading and also supporting your own amphibious operations. The game is brought to you by our friends at Avalon Digital and overall is rated very positive at 87%. Definitely a title for you to go and pick up. And finally, to bring this list to a close, we have Castle Itter, the strangest battle of World War II. At its core, the battle for Castle Itter is a solitaire card-driven tabletop board game. It details the Battle of Castle Itter, or Schloss Itter, which was fought near the Austrian village of Itter on the 5th of May 1945, in the last days of the war in Europe during World War II. US soldiers joined forces with German infantry, an SS officer, an Austrian resistance fighter, and recently freed French prisoners of war to defend the castle against an attacking force of Waffen SS. It's an absolutely fascinating encounter, and I recently listened to an audiobook to back up my knowledge after playing the game. The game itself is an adaptation of a board game, and while it looks simple on the surface, there's a lot of strategy here, and it's extremely challenging. I really enjoy the fact that every game mode and difficulty level, it records your score so you can go back in and try again and see how you've done over time. It's just one of those games that I'd fire up when I fancied a relaxing but thought-provoking gaming experience. I'm still playing it today, and honestly, it's a real undiscovered gem that you should check out. It's also not a particularly popular title, so if you do decide to pick this up, let's give it a good review and try and get a boost to it. It will be great to see that happen as a result of this video. I would highly recommend studying the in-game rulebook though, as there's a lot of nuance to this title. Radio Commander, which offers a unique take on the Vietnam War setting, where you lead US platoons using only radio communications. You won't see the battlefield, everything relies on the reports you receive and your ability to make informed decisions. This narrative-driven game challenges players with tough moral choices and requires constant tactical thinking. I always enjoy unique gameplay elements, and the radio part of this was absolutely brilliant and it really did immerse me in the setting. Definitely a game I want to go back and play again, and I do know there's a sequel coming out. That sequel will be based in the Pacific Theatre in World War II, and I'm really looking forward to jumping back in to this very unique gameplay. So if you're looking for a wargame that's immersive with a realistic narrative, that unique radio-based gameplay, and challenging decision-making that you have to do under pressure, then this is definitely a title to consider. There is of course a lack of visual feedback that might frustrate some players, and there's limited replayability once the story is complete. Overall, I really enjoyed this title, and it's rated mostly positive on Steam at 73%, and is also playable on the Steam Deck, which is an added bonus. Moving onwards, we have a channel favourite in Command Modern Operations, which takes cross-domain modern wargaming to the next level, allowing players to simulate military engagements from post-World War II to the present. With a focus on tactical and operational scale, this game enables you to dive into detailed Vietnam War scenarios. Players can explore various military strategies, analysing and executing missions in an immersive, realistic environment that no other game can provide. The game really does present the most comprehensive military simulation across any era, and you can also focus on Vietnam, which is an added bonus for this list. There's that detailed tactical and operational gameplay and rich scenario creation tools to back this up. Now this game has an absolutely massive learning curve. You're going to find yourself looking at tutorials, reading manuals. It took me ages to even get the basics down, but I really do love it. If you think that time investment is worth it, then honestly, you're going to get so richly rewarded here. Just thank me later. And with those Vietnam War scenarios, it's a worthy addition to this list. This is backed up on Steam by 85% very positive ratings. Next up is a real personal favourite of mine in Lock and Load Tactical, which delivers fast-paced and furious tactical combat that's easy to learn, making it an excellent choice for both newcomers and veterans. The Vietnam DLC, which is one of only 2 that I own, including the Falkland Islands, expands the gameplay with squads, weapon teams, and vehicles, including helicopters. Players can utilise unique individuals like leaders, medics, and snipers to enhance their strategies on the battlefield. This engaging tactical experience immerses players in the intense conflicts like the Vietnam War and the Falkland Islands, which was a personal favourite of mine. The game is very quick to learn with accessible gameplay, there's varied unit types for strategic depth, and also many exciting tactical scenarios, and you can get more DLC if you want to play for longer. The Heroes of Nam Battle Pack 1 and 2 brings the award-winning Lock and Load tactical series to the Vietnam War. This provides a squad-level experience steeped in realism. This expansion captures the unique challenges and tactics of Vietnam, from navigating dense foliage to executing strategic maneuvers against the Viet Cong. Prepare for dynamic gameplay as you lead your squad through some of the most critical battles of the conflict. The game is rated 86% very positive on Steam, and I know it's playable on the Steam Deck because that's where I choose to play it quite often. Next up, we have a title on the list that I haven't actually played. Now that does happen very rarely, but I do like to be upfront and state it in the video, but I will be getting round to this one. And that title is Campaign Series Vietnam, which is a turn-based tactical and operational wargame focusing on conflicts in Southeast Asia from 1948 to 1967. Each scenario is meticulously researched, played on historically accurate hex grid maps, and offers a variety of battle types including fire-based defences and helicopter air assaults. With new units like helicopters and tunnel rats, players must navigate unique tactical challenges such as IEDs and unconventional warfare. The game features dynamic AI, multiple play modes, and robust editing tools for custom scenarios. Many do seem to consider this the definitive operational level Vietnam War game, so it is definitely one I want to check out in the future. It's only available on the Matrix store, so I'll leave a link in the description below. If you are an experienced player of this title, would you leave your thoughts in the comments? Moving onwards, we have Squad Battles Vietnam, brought to us by the Wargame Design Studio. This title transports players to the jungles and rice paddies of Vietnam, where the conflict between the US and its determined foes unfolds. This tactical wargame focuses on small, intense firefights, highlighting the gritty, man-to-man nature of combat. Players navigate a historically rich narrative shaped by the experience of soldiers on the ground, emphasizing the personal stories within the broader context of the war. As with all titles from the Wargame Design Studio, there's a deep historical immersion here, but there's also a focus on small unit tactics. However, if you check their website, they also have a strategic Vietnam wargame if you're interested. There is limited graphics here compared to modern games, but that won't put off us wargamers. We love this stuff. I own a number of the Wargame Design Studio's titles now, and they are wonderful games. Now, you do have to get past the UI a little bit, but overall the gameplay is second to none, and you're really going to get a great time from these titles. One to pick up from their website, I'll leave a link in the description below. And topping off this list is Vietnam 65, where players step into the shoes of a US Army commander during the early stages of the Vietnam War. Tasked with conducting a counter-insurgency campaign in the La Drang Valley, you engage in strategic planning, resource management, and tactical decision-making to secure the area against enemy forces. The game emphasizes realism and the complexities of military operations in a challenging environment, and honestly, it's a really great little title. With its engaging strategy mechanics and realistic portrayal of counter-insurgency warfare, it really is a strong experience. There are limited graphics here which are a little outdated, and it can be extremely challenging. Even with quite a bit of game time, I found this title very hard. But some people love that stuff. I think it's a great time to highlight the developer Every Single Soldier here. They have a number of titles on the way, including a sequel to this one called Vietnam 66. They also have Rhodesia 72, and maybe a little bit too close to home for me, Northern Ireland 74. They also recently released Angola 86 if you want to check that out. Great to see a small studio like this expand their horizons with new titles and gameplay elements. And if you want to know where it all started, then check this title out. It's rated overall very positive on Steam at 82% and is also playable on the Steam Deck. So there we go, LT gamers, we get to the end of another awesome compilation list for 2024, this time with the Forgotten Wargames series. It's a really great resource for 2024, 25 and beyond. I'm hoping there wasn't too many mistakes in there, or I didn't ask you to subscribe like 10 times or something, but overall, I think it's come together pretty well. I've been Luke from LT Gaming, and I'll catch you on the next one.